The chapter opens with a young man named Keisuke Nijima, who works in the sales department. He's in a business meeting, presenting a new electronic payment method. After hearing Nijima's proposal, the boss looks unconvinced. However, the atmosphere shifts when a young woman stands up and expresses her support for the idea, saying she sees great potential in it. Following this, they begin testing the idea in a few local businesses as part of a small trial period. As they walk back afterward, Nijima thanks Takai for accompanying him. His stomach growls loudly, revealing his hunger, and he mentions that he couldn't eat breakfast due to his nerves. Takai laughs and comes up with a quick idea. She takes him to a park and shares her homemade lunch with him. Nijima is amazed by the taste of her food and happily tells her how delicious it is. Seeing his joyful reaction, Takai is pleased, as she's never seen anyone enjoy a meal with such enthusiasm. That night, while at home, Nijima struggles to find the right way to thank Takai. He thinks that simply thanking her without asking her out might be enough, but in the end, he decides to take a chance and sends her an invitation exactly as he'd written it. He's surprised when Takai responds positively. Years go by, and we see Nijima and Takai get married and have a daughter named Mai. The passage of time is shown through Mai growing from a child to a teenager, while Nijima and Takai seem to live a very happy life. It's clear how much Takai cares about her husband, lovingly making him lunch every day because she believes it helps her worry less about him. However, something changes, and through a few scenes, we see a saddened and dejected Nijima. It seems all those happy moments were just memories. We return to the present, where Nijima is sitting on a bench with a sad expression as he answers a call. He mentions that it's been 10 years. At the office, the sales manager gives Nijima a small memento from a trip and asks him to share it with his daughter. He also takes the opportunity to invite Nijima out for a drink, saying it's been a long time since they last hung out, but Nijima declines the offer and apologizes. Just before arriving home, Nijima reflects on how, 10 years ago, his life came to a halt. After arriving home and having dinner with his now-grown daughter, we see a flashback of Nijima frantically running through a hospital. When he reaches his daughter, it's revealed that Takai had passed away. At that moment, the sound of the doorbell brings us back to the present. A little girl is at the door, quickly announcing that she's back. Nijima, utterly confused, asks if she's at the wrong house. The girl assures him that this is her home, and she introduces herself as Takai Nijima, his wife. After a brief questioning, the young girl correctly answers all the personal questions Nijima asks, from memories about their daughter to the moment when he proposed. Even so, the situation remains baffling for all three of them, but Takai believes it's a result of reincarnation, as she died 10 years ago, which happens to be her current age now. Although she doesn't remember much, she says that everything suddenly came back to her. Nijima comes to realize that she really is his wife, as her personality and manner of speaking are exactly the same. After this, Takai is thrilled that they've finally recognized her, and immediately begins scolding them for the poor eating habits they've developed since she passed away. After chatting for a bit, Takai mentions that she has to leave as it's time to return to her current home. However, she promises to make them lunch on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Before leaving, she admits that even though this whole situation may seem strange, she's happy to see them both after so long and promises to return. As Nijima watches her go, he can't hold back his tears and runs after her, hugging her tightly. He tells her how much he's missed her, how much she's meant to him. Despite this, Takai gently reminds Nijima that he needs to focus on their daughter and get himself together. He should have moved on by now. She also tells him that he needs to change his attitude and show that he has a future ahead of him, as her return is a miraculous second chance. With that, Takai lifts both their spirits and says goodbye. Nijima and Mai quickly pull themselves together and vow to work hard to move forward. The next day, Nijima appears much more cheerful, being proactive and kind to his co-workers, who are surprised by his sudden change in attitude. Afterward, Nijima eagerly heads to breakfast. He tells himself he never thought he'd be able to taste Takai's cooking again. As he begins to eat, a woman approaches and asks if she can sit next to him. It's Moriya, a co-worker. Surprised by his newfound cheerfulness, she asks if something good has happened recently. Without going into detail, Nijima tells her he's regained something very important to him, and because of that, he's found the will to live again. Moriya admits that she noticed him because of his smile, as she's never seen him smile before. Realizing what she's just said, she apologizes. They start eating, and Nijima asks if Moriya makes her own breakfast. She replies that she does, though she thinks she might be the only one who does. Nijima compliments her, saying he admires people with the discipline to cook every day. It reminds him of his wife. Touched by his words, Moriya thanks him and asks if he'd be her lunch partner, explaining that his motivation has inspired her to cook more and she'd love to share meals with him again. Nijima happily agrees. Later that day, Takai meets up with Nijima. She's struggling with her new phone and complains that her small hands make it hard to use. Unable to resist, Nijima snaps a few pictures of her, thinking she looks adorable and wanting to set her as his phone wallpaper. When Takai notices, she asks him to delete the photos, warning him that it's weird and could even get him arrested. At that moment, Mai arrives, fresh from job hunting. Takai can't help but admire her daughter, telling her how beautiful she looks. Meanwhile, Nijima, excited, gets up and announces he's going to make katsudon, while Takai and Mai watch him fondly. The next day, Takai waits outside Nijima's house with a packed lunch for him to take to work. He's thrilled to receive the meal, admitting he didn't think she would come. Takai brushes it off, saying it's just leftovers from the night before, but Nijima doesn't believe her, and jokes that she must have been dying to see him. Takai shivers at his teasing. At work, Moria mentions that she prepared 2 lunches, so Nijima decides not to refuse her food and saves Takai's lunch for later. Later, tired of waiting for Nijima, Takai leaves as it's getting late. While walking through the park, she spots Nijima eating the lunch she prepared and confronts him. When she asks why he didn't eat it at work, Nijima explains that someone else brought him lunch and he thought it would be a good chance to socialize, so he accepted. Takai quickly asks if the person was a woman, how old she was, and whether she was single. She thinks Nijima is oblivious for not realizing what's going on, but Nijima has no idea what she means. Takai then asks if he feels embarrassed eating in the park. Nijima admits he does, but he'd rather do that than let her efforts go to waste. He adds that the worst part is not being able to say his wife lovingly made the meal for him. Takai tells him not to say that out loud, or people might think he's strange. Recalling everything he lost when she passed, Nijima kneels down and tells Takai that he wants to cherish every moment with her and never lie to himself again. In this way, it becomes clear that Nijima truly loves his wife. If you've reached this point in the video, don't forget to leave the word exquisito in the comments. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.